You're listening to Mr. Liverpool himself, Frank Carlyle, exclusively on Mersey Radio.
He sounded like
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if we didn't know, like, John Mott, and that all of a sudden came on, you'd listen very intently, wouldn't you? Go, that's Paul Simon, though.
Yeah, I mean, I do hope John's quite flattered with that.
Do you reckon?
Well, I hope he is, because he might come on and say, I hate Paul Simon.
Yeah. But I think he'd be more diplomatic than that, wouldn't he? He'd go, oh, well, you know, thanks for that, but I wanted to sound like Brad Pitt.
Yeah, or Jimi Hendrix or something.
Jimi Hendrix. Brad Pitt or Jimi Hendrix, yeah. But anyway, what you do now and what we're going to do, we're going right over to Chicago. It's early afternoon there or something like that. Or mid-afternoon, shall we say, mid-afternoon, in wonderful Chicago, the Windy City, the home of Alfonso Capone. Do you know the way they say Al Capone? His name was Capone. Capone, from, well, he wasn't, he was from Naples, wasn't he? Napoli, Capone. Anyway, it's right over to Grant Niebergall. Good evening and good afternoon there, Grant.
Hey, Frank, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
Brother, I'm doing great. And as we speak, I'm actually excited to give you some good news around the world here that I have channel partnered with a media company, and we're going to be doing live broadcasts via radio and TV and everything pretty soon as well.
Wow.
And combining our powers around the world.
That's absolutely wonderful news, That's absolutely great, because obviously, you know, Soul Junkie, that's, and a Butterfly in the Traffic, you know, these wonderful names of bands. So will they be performing, yeah?
Well, that's to be determined yet. I'm sure Butterfly in Traffic will. As far as Soul Junkie's concerned, we might consider a reunion for something that would go worldwide, but my goal is to bring superpowers like yourself and other media streams into the same network so we can kind of piggyback off each other and spread the good news about humanity and the good things that we could do through music. Absolutely.
Can I just mention these particular band members, because of, John's on there with us, and there's John Mott, guitar and vocals, Grant Niebergall, drums, John Van der Veit. Now, that'll be John Van der Veit. That'll be how it's spelled, you know, especially.
It's Vander White, but we call him Vano.
Vano, okay. Chris Hess, Eric Chase, Matt the Distance, and Chris the Distance.
Yep.
Who we know anyway, but it's absolutely brilliant. What a band that is.
Well, it's funny, Frank, because we've all, John can tell you, we've basically been working off each other now for, 20 years?
Yeah.
So, but it's been an exciting adventure so far, and when John brought this project to the table, I was immediately humbled to be on it, and because, me and John are old friends, and we played together before, and, things have formed since that project. I'll let John explain that.
Yeah.
But it's just turned out to be great for the cause of music and so forth. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the airwaves over to Mr. Mott, because he is mad.
Hiya, John.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, John. And we was just talking about, I've got Ed Gilchrist here. He's in the studio.
Hi.
And we were listening to Ill at Ease, and we were saying about the three of us, even the producer, Jason Pennington, said, the three of us said how very much like Paul Simon you sounded. I'm not saying you were taking him off or anything, but it was like a Paul Simon type
like a
song, tune, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the influence is definitely there from Paul Simon. I'm a big fan. I definitely do take that as a compliment. The Rhythm of the Saints album was a huge influence on me, and I took a real liking to that feel, and that's kind of part of what I was trying to incorporate into this album.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted with that, because I don't know whether you were listening to us when you first came on here now, and Ed said he might hate Paul Simon, if we mention him. Anyway, I'm so glad that you said, he was a great influence on your particular...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So listen, I always ask these musos, great musos, the same question. So Paul Simon was a great influence with you. Anybody else that influenced your, shall we say, going into music?
Well, early when I first got involved in learning guitar, I was actually very much into like a harder rock kind of sound. And I gotcha. Listening a lot to heavy metal and, a lot of the British Invasion. And, I learned how to play guitar based off of, listening to AC/DC and the Scorpions and, all the big, the Who, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin. And then, as I got a little bit older, I don't know how it happened, but I got more interested in a more cleaner sound on my guitar and less distortion and eventually more acoustic playing and heavily influenced by some of the singer-songwriters like Elliott Smith and Sinead O'Connor and Peter Gabriel and Bob Marley and, all the greats that, they really came across vocally and melodically.
So this Ill at Ease, you had written it yourself, yeah?
Yeah, correct.
That's fantastic, because tell me something. When I was reading this little synopsis about you, John, After Hours took 15 years in the making. How come?
Well, I started writing the songs, about 15 years ago. And then we finally got it together with Grant here and John Vanderwhite and got into the studio around 05, 06 and laid down all the basic tracks. And then I got really busy with my family, and I was starting a family, and my wife and I were just, really busy with that, so I kind of shelved it.
Listen, it's a watershed here. And it's only afternoon there, and you're saying it took 15 years because we were starting a family. Don't go down that road, please.
Yeah, well, I can't say that I worked on it straight for 15 years. It sat on the shelf for any of those years.
I'm only joking, by the way, so come on.
Oh, yeah. But I finally got back into the studio this January and finished it. So now I can say it's done, which is a good feeling.
Where was we get the hold of this particular After Hours album?
Where was the what? Sorry.
Where can we get hold of it?
Album?
Where would people over here get hold of a copy?
So you can get it on. You can hear it on Spotify, Apple Music. You can get it on iTunes, Amazon, all the major sites. It's on. I'm actually on a record, a little record company called Garden House Records, and I have a profile there.
Headed up by the one and only genius, Chris Hess.
Yeah, that's Chris Hess's label.
Yeah, that's Chris Resistance, isn't it? Yeah,
that's Chris Hess, actually.
Yeah, there were two Chris's in the band.
Yeah, Chris Radistitz owns Cinnamon Sound Studio. That's where I recorded.
Cinnamon Sound. Yeah, the Mott resist. I can't say that. I'm useless at saying it, and
Rads.
Rads. And as Grant keeps saying, just call them
Matt
Rads.
And Chris Rads.
Just call them Rads. Just call them Chris Rads. Just call them Matt Rads. Anyway, getting back to you, John. You know the way some albums are finished and then they're put out, and you get reviews and you get people like myself and the likes of Ed, talking about the album and songs. Ill at Ease, for example. I'll be talking about this band that you got up. The lads who actually finished it off for you. You've got all together. The likes of Grant, the likes of John Vanderwhite, the likes of Chris S., Eric Chase, Matt, and Chris Rad's both brothers there. How was it? How did it feel in the studio? You know, when they're all playing and everything else, and you must have a great rapport with each and every one of the artists, because to me they all sound great artists. You had bass. Obviously, we know that Grant plays the drums, synthesizers, Chris S, piano and backing vocals, Eric Chase, and trumpet, Matt Rads, and percussion, Chris Rads as well, you know. So how does it feel, you know, to meet up with all these lads and, you know, finally finish? How did you feel about finishing the album after 15 years? How did it feel to you personally?
Well, it felt great. It felt like an accomplishment, you know, something that I'd always, you know, wanted to get completed. And, you know, I can't thank these guys enough for being patient and for contributing their time and playing. And they're all very talented. And I've been playing with all of them for, you know, most of my life as a musician. And we've done numerous different projects together and have played and tons of improvisation and all different styles of music. And, you know, this is a much more simplistic approach to music. This album is much more broken down and straightforward, and they executed it beautifully, and I couldn't be happier.
Well, that's lovely, that, because, you know, people do finally, you know, come to the end of an album, and the finished product, the final product, they're so happy with. How's your reviews been? Besides yourself and the rest of the lads saying, you know, that's a great rap. How have you been getting? Has there been any reviews about these particular songs and, you know, the album itself? Have there been any good reviews?
Well, it's only been released for 2 weeks, so I mean, I've had a couple of basic, you know, reviews, but nothing really yet. It's just kind of hitting the streets, so to speak. And it was aired. I had a song aired last night on another program, and they said some kind things about it. So
very kind things.
Well, I'm just looking at. I'm sorry to interject there, but I'm just looking at the cover. Who designed the cover? Because it's absolutely fascinating. It's a big octopus, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. That as well was done by Chris Hess.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's a multi-talent, Frank. He's awesome.
One of these fellas who's got to, you know, put his hand to anything and it comes up trumps.
Is it something symbolic with the octopus?
No, not at all.
I thought it might have been like the people who contributed to the music, or
or you know, the members of the band. Yeah.
I like where that's going.
I think the next time I'm asked that question, I'll have a good symbol to.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Now that I'm speaking, I just have a very quick question about the band, and you know, all of the guys whose names that Frank read out earlier, were they all performing on this album?
Yeah, every one of those people that Frank mentioned is on the album.
So you've got two drummers in there. So there's a question: were you playing two drum sets, or were you just playing different tracks?
Well, so Grant played all the actual drum tracks.
Yeah.
And then Chris, while I was in his studio, helped out with all the percussion backing tracks and a couple of filler things on his keyboard. And so he definitely helped layer in some percussion and not actual drum kit, but
right. So was it
very dry.
Sorry, did you mix it in Chris's studio?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Right, and you got something called Garden House Records. Is that your record company or someone else?
That is, it's Chris Hess's record company.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody's, really involved in this, which is great. Trying to help everyone in their businesses and enterprises.
Do you live in? Do you actually live in Chicago? You're from Chicago.
Well, yeah, I'm from the south suburb of Chicago called Homewood.
Which is the same place my shop's at, Frank.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's there then. That's why you brought him in.
Right.
Yes, sir. I'm right next to him.
Yeah, well,
That's how it works.
that's how it works. Fortunately for for us
Yeah.
over here in Liverpool, have you got any plans of visiting the UK at all?
Well, nothing on the books, but I'd love to. I've been there once before. I actually have family there, but my father's from Wimbledon,
Oh right, okay.
so I do have family there, but I've not been there in almost
Are
30
they
years.
still in Wimbledon? Yeah,
Um,
or if they moved over all around the
It's
place?
all over. I'm not exactly sure where they reside currently, but they're in the area. Yeah.
So you've got no family up here and over here in Liverpool, England, the birth of entertainment. That's what we call it anyway.
Yeah. No, I'd love to see Liverpool.
Really, that's lovely that. And if you'll ever come over here, it'll be fantastic. I'm waiting for Mr. Niebergall to get over here at some stage in his life and meet up because it's absolutely wonderful to have these American people coming over, and we have got a couple of Americans coming over next March, and it's wonderful. I also have a girlfriend coming over from Canada, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on, which is absolutely wonderful to see these people like your good self, John Mott, bashing out these wonderful tunes and everything else, because we like good music, we love good music, we love great guests on the show, and we've had lots and lots of messages coming through, by the way, congratulating you on Ill at Ease, because they've said that what a fantastic song that is, and they've been asking for the After Hours album, and that's why Ed got the album up and the sleeve of it.
I was just going to say that if no one else is going to say this, that there's a website called www.gardenhouserecords.com. Gardenhouse Records, all one word, .com. Is that a good place for them to go and start?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a player where they can hear the songs. There's a link where they can buy the album. There's a profile on me, and there's some other great artists on there too.
Yeah, so gardenhouserecords.com for everyone who's listening. It's good.
Well, that's it. Well, what we'll do as well, John and Grant, we'll put it on our website, and obviously Grant, can put it over to me and put it on my site, my personal site, that is. Because it's going to be absolutely wonderful, and it'll be a success because of these messages that are coming through now. And all I can say, boys, is John and Grant, thank you so much. And Grant, we'll be seeing you again next month, as usual, hopefully.
Yes, sir. And I understand you were planning on coming to the U.S. at one point in time or another, were you not?
I certainly am, and I'll be going to visit you. I'll be turning up in your shop, but don't ask me to play any instruments. I'm absolutely useless. Don't ask me to sing either. I'm absolutely useless.
No, we just need the Frank Carlyle aura in this joint.
Thanks very much.
He's good with joints.
Don't take no notice in that. I'll tell you what, though. I'll give you the history of. I'll give you the history of Chicago.
Yes, sir. And, I just want to take a moment to thank you guys so much for the continued support here through One Fine Tune and me and Chicago. And what a humble privilege it is to bring you guys great musicians and great players and good people. I mean, It's one thing to actually hear their music, but, a lot of things can sometimes get lost in translation from music to human. And everybody that I've had in here has not only been a great player, but a great human being. And, I've known John for a minute. And, he's just another great human being who's a great musician.
Absolutely, and you have brought some wonderful guests and some great, wonderful human beings, and unfortunately we've run out of time. And once again, it's brilliant. Thank you so much, Grant, and thank you very much, John.
Well, thank you very much, Frank, for everything.
No,
yes, thank you for the time. We appreciate you, and as we say in Chicago, love you, love your show.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, people. You're good people. And that's the wonderful Grant Niebergall and John Mott on his wonderful After Hours album. And it looks great, actually, you know, the album. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we're going to go to Pieces of Yesterday by John Mott. We're going to play that. And also Salt in Our Veins by Brian Nash, because Brian will be coming on the show straight after half time, as we call it, because we have a cup of tea and a nice biscuit and everything else. So I'll see you after this.
The best in 60s and 70s music, plus a little bit of history. Tune into Frank Carlyle every Monday at 8 p.m. here only on Mersey Radio.